Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to take a look at a game that I had in the Montana, the Tier 10 American battleship. I'm divisioned up with my buddy from APOC Megadude. He's playing in the Henri IV, the Tier 10 French heavy cruiser, and we're playing some domination here on the map, Mountain Range. For my captain skills, I run Direction Center for Catapult Aircraft, Expert Marksman, Basics of Survivability, Superintendent, Advanced Firing Training, and Concealment Expert. And for my equipment, I run Main Armaments Modification 1, AA Guns Mod 2, Artillery Plotting Room Mod 2, Damage Control Modification 1 and 2, and Concealment Systems Modification 1. So the Montana in patch 0.6.6, along with the Missouri and the Iowa, received a very significant change to their armor layout. I'm going to provide you with a couple of screenshots for those of you that don't read the patch notes or just generally were not aware that this happened. Here is a screenshot of the old armor layout. You can see clearly that the deck, it's good. It's an American battleship, of course, but you can see that the citadel is raised above the waterline. You can see that red portion that extends from the waterline, of course, slightly up, about halfway up the side of the vessel. However, when you take a look at the new armor model of the ship, you can clearly see that while the deck did receive a little bit of a nerf, it is lower along the ship, and you can see that all of the red is now completely underneath the waterline. Now, what this means is that it's certainly not impossible to get citadeled in this thing. Obviously, Yamato shells are going to have no trouble still being able to, lull pen you and get ridiculous damage salvos on you for pretty much no good reason whatsoever, even if you're angled perfectly. But what it allows the Montana now is a greater degree of flexibility when it comes to your angling, and going up against 16-inch shells is not as scary as it used to be, and of course 16.5-inch shells if a Freddy or a Kurfürst is shooting those caliber weapons at you. So I'm also interested to see how it'll perform against the high-tier British battleships, which should be coming into the game relatively soon. But yeah, the armor model is, it's apparent. You can actually tank lower caliber battleship rounds a lot better in this thing now. And you do take a lot more penetration damage, which of course is a good thing, because while you will take massive hits, of course, you're going to be able to repair a lot of those hit points back, which if you took citadels, of course, you would not be able to. And also, in this game, you're going to see me shooting against a Missouri, and you'll notice the armor coming into play as I get my first salvo of the game out at that guy at 22 kilometers. You'll also notice a few times throughout the game where that battleship in particular is also able to tank my shells a lot better than it probably would. The shells fall in, and I manage one pen and one overpen for 5,800 damage to start the game off. So a little bit of map tactics here. As you can see, B and C on Mountain Range are to the east of the line of islands that stretches from J4 all the way up to Alpha 4, and it goes slightly towards Objective Bravo before going back towards the enemy's cap. What you really want to do on this map, and it should honestly be pretty obvious to everybody, you want to get B and C, because what happens is if the enemy team makes a hard push towards Objective Alpha, what they're forced to do, because of where the position of Bravo is at, is come through all those narrow gaps and channels in between the islands, and it's a lot easier to be able to anticipate enemy movements if you're forcing them to go through those gaps in between the hard island cover. And it's really, really obvious to me anyway when you look at this map, but a lot of people don't. But I did tell my team at the beginning of the game, I'm like, hey guys, we all need to get over here, and as a matter of fact, this is one of those times where the team listens. And obviously everybody, I'm sure out there, gets annoyed from time to time when people try to be the field general and make all the shots for the team, but I certainly think that my pedigree is, it means something, I guess. Now you can see right here against this Missouri, I do manage only one citadel. I get a 21k salvo. Well, I don't know if the armor model saved him right there. Certainly it felt like it. Obviously, 21k with a citadel is certainly a great salvo to lay on any enemy ship for that matter, but it just felt like I could have gotten a little bit more out of that. The shells landed right underneath the smokestack and underneath the front turret, and I did feel a little unlucky to not outright delete that guy, to be honest with you, because he was providing a full broadside, and everybody loves shooting at high-tier American battleships when they have a full broadside given to them. So I'm up to 27,000 points of damage. You can see it is 306 to 429. The enemy team is making a hard push towards Alpha, so I'm not worried about this whatsoever. All we got to do is kill these 4 enemy ships that are over here at Objective Charlie, and we will be in the clear. One thing to note about the Montana, I will be covering it sometime in the future in a ship review. is I run a concealment build, and you can get your detectability down to 13.4 kilometers. And why this is important is that it gives you the flexibility to surprise Yamatos, Kurfürsts, and even some of the high-tier cruisers, potentially like the Henri IV and the Moskva, for instance. So concealment really is the name of the game. I'm sure if you've been around the channel for more than one day that you know that concealment on every ship class is pretty much the way to go in this current meta. However, the enemy team has been able to take out 2 of our ships, and they did lose 1, but it's 264 to 508. However, we are now moving on to Objective Alpha, which is a very good thing. So we're going to get that 2-to-1 cap lead, and again, I cannot stress this enough on this map, how important it is to control B and C. So, yeah. I'm looking for a shot here now. Full broadside out against the Henri IV. He is moving at full speed. You can't see it on screen, of course, because I don't have the aiming reticle, but I was aiming all the way out at 20. I use, I believe it's number 3, and I get rewarded with a 15k salvo on the Frenchie right there, putting him down to less than 5k hit points, as some shells from that Kurfürst, it appears, come flying in towards me. So at this point, I now have to make a pretty tough decision. I have to go back and try to deal with these ships, which appear to be moving in towards Objective Bravo. They certainly seem like it. However, that Missouri and the Mogami that are still off my starboard hindquarter, I do have to pay attention, of course, and try to angle versus all of them at once. So this is why I'm giving up with the broadside to the Currywurst and the Montana, but they can only use their front guns while I'm still angled towards the guys in front of me, as I land a very nice 20k salvo there with 5 pens and 4 overpens. The accuracy on these guns coming into play with the Plotting Room Mod 2, and I kill that Tier 9 German battleship for my first kill of the game. As I go right back into detection, or undetected I should say, you can see that those German battleships down there were not able to get more shots at me because I was able to go off the minimap, and the Currywurst now thinks that he's safe to make a turn to try to get behind the island. You can see that he's fully committed, so I'm going to wait a little bit before I get my next salvo off. Shells are halfway to the target, and I'm going to have yet another solid salvo right here as they fall in. 13,500 points of damage done. A very, very nice salvo right there, and I'm up to about 80,000 points of damage. And that's what these American guns are all about. Super heavy shells, 16 inches, you get 12 of them. You can just do an absolute crap load of damage against anything with these shells. And again, as I mentioned earlier, with the Plotting Room, getting that accuracy down by, I think it's like 30 or 35 meters is the buff to the accuracy. It's absolutely ridiculous. Unfortunately here, I aimed just a tad too far in front of the Des Moines as the shells hit for 11,200 damage. 5 overpens right in the bow. That would have been an instant deletion if I would have been able to aim just a tad bit far behind. You want to shoot the Des Moines right underneath the smokestack. That's where you're going to be able to get the huge damaging salvos. It's now 463 to 455. We have taken the lead and have the ship advantage as well. I'm looking for a broadside here against the Currywurst. However, I can see that he is indeed turning away, so now I'm going to deal with the more immediate threat here in the Bismarck. The shells are on the way. Look at that dispersion. It looks absolutely fantastic. 25,000 points of damage with 8 shells that penetrate the target, chunking that guy down about 2/5, maybe even a little bit more than that. An absolute monster salvo as he's actually shooting his secondaries and his main battery. It appears at my friendly Edinburgh that is trying to get out of the way. That is why I decided to shoot him instead of the Currywurst. You can see right here on the broadside, I do take about 10,000 damage from the German battleship. However, I did not get citadel, and that is the most important thing. Those 15-inch guns are still, or were able to citadel you pretty regularly with the old Armour Model, as I land another 20k salvo. That guy got absolutely chunked for 45,000 points of his hit points eradicated just in 2 salvos. And if it was any other battleship besides a German one without the turtleback armor, and it could have been one hell of a deletion. And I've spiked my damage total up to 134,000 points of damage as I go out of detection, as the Edinburgh manages to take care of business. But I certainly was able to chunk most of his hit points down. And right there, that last little bit that you saw with these guns, just salvo after salvo, dealing well over 10k a pop. And that is why the Montana, in my opinion, with the accuracy module, is just, it's so terrifying to deal with. And I know the reputation that it has compared to the Currywurst and the Yamato, but these guns are absolutely lethal. Right here, a little bit of map knowledge. I know that I can get those shells right in between that little tiny gap. I don't think the Des Moines realized it. Of course I do. 1 overpen is enough, and I get my second kill of the game on that Tier 10 American heavy cruiser. And now I'm swinging my forward turrets into play to see if this Ibuki tries to do the same exact thing, but it appears that he saw what happened to his friend right there, and he decides not to, as he manages to take care of the friendly Iowa that was just off my rear end. So that was quite the sequence of events right there. And again, just watching those meaty salvos with these guns is something that I just love it so much. And I hadn't played this ship for a couple months, to be honest. I was waiting for this armor change to come. It was leaked, I think, in 0.6.3, 0.6.4 maybe, back in, I think, late March, early April. So I just wanted to wait and see what would happen with this ship. And it is fun. I played, I think, 10 or 11 games over the weekend in it, and I was performing pretty good with the new changes. So now, at this point, it is 540 to 551. We have 6 ships. The enemy team has 6 ships. However, the Fletcher, Missouri, and Mogami are well out of position and are being dealt with by my team that is in between C and B. So I have to stay over here with this Shimakaze. Now, what I warned him about, if you caught it in chat a couple or maybe not a couple seconds ago, but a little bit ago, I told him don't get too close to the edge of the island as I shoot my rear turrets at the gearing. Because, of course, that Currywurst and the Ibuki, you know, they could use that hard cover to be able to move up really close to the edge and potentially be able to surprise my friend in the shimmy. So that's why, as he's smoking up, I told him don't get close, and it's a very good thing that he didn't, because the gearing also appeared as I pick up the Confederate and land about a 7K salvo. A little unlucky with only overpens, but nonetheless, I was still able to deal a very large chunk of his hit points down, and it appears he's now turning into the Shimakaze's guns as the Currywurst is coming around the headland as well. And this little scene that you're going to see right here shows just how important it is to be able to prioritize your targets. Everybody wants to go for the big hits on the enemy battleships. However, the gearing is, of course, the more immediate threat as I get my full broadside out. Unfortunately, I only do 5,000 damage with more overpens. Very unlucky that I did not get at least one pen to be able to really chunk that guy down. However, the Shimakaze does manage to take care of business, and now I am getting into a bit of a pickle here as the Currywurst is going to charge me down. My secondaries start to open up on him. They do have a 9% fire chance and have a reload of 4 seconds, and they do have the best fire chance of any of the Tier 10 battleship secondaries, but of course, at the end of the day, it is an American battleship, and they are much more known for their dual-purpose AA than their dedicated secondary anti-ship weapons. You can see here the secondaries are still going. I'm trying to stay angled to this Currywurst. Obviously, he is holding his fire because he wants to try to do a drive-by. However, I see that the enemy Ibuki is, in my opinion, the more immediate threat since that Currywurst doesn't have many hit points left. So that's why I'm going to shoot my forward guns at the Ibuki. And just like with the Des Moines salvo, I shoot just too far in front and manage 6 overpens for 8,100 damage. But now what I'm doing is the most important thing, and I am turning into his gun. Now, he could, if he held down his right mouse button and leave his turrets in one place, potentially delete me here. However, I was able to play it off because I turned into him and probably threw off his aim as he left his turrets in one spot. However, now I'm in a bit more of a pickle because I'm stuck between the Ibuki and him, and I'm waiting for his rear turrets to potentially turn into play. I do take out the Ibuki with 1 citadel, and I still have to stay somewhat angled to the Currywurst until he dies, which he gets taken out by the Missouri. So now I can safely continue to turn to port to try and get out of the way of the inevitable Ibuki torpedoes, which were certainly launched. One of the spotter planes is back there, still detecting me, and any second now his torpedoes will appear off my starboard side, and there we go. The torpedoes are detected, and I was able to get out of that situation almost scot-free. I'm still at a very healthy 77,000 hit points, and again, I kind of played it wrong right there against the Currywurst. I probably should have turned in, but at the same time, I am not a fan of ramming, nor do I want to get rammed myself, so that's why I held off the turn as much as possible. The Fletcher does appear near Objective Bravo, getting chunked down heavily by the Edinburgh. I am going to shoot my full broadside out at him. I do have 3 kills, so if I manage to get this one, the Kraken is in play. There we go. The Tier 9 American destroyer is taken care of, and with 626 left in the game, I'm up to 177,000 points of damage, and the score is 858 to 507. And yeah, at this point, it's just the enemy Missouri who is somehow still alive. Again, at the beginning of the game, not getting that deletion when he was broadside due to the potentially improved armor coming into play right there has left him still alive. So I'm going to be looking for some shots here. And then, of course, that enemy Mogami is still somewhere over there. He is on Objective Charlie, guaranteed, because you can see the enemy team is, of course, capping it. They're about a third of the way doing so. So what have you noticed in this game? Well, I've been able to use the concealment quite a bit to be able to put myself into a good position. I'm looking for a shot here at the Mogami. I've also been able to use these guns. It's just the armor piercing is so darn deadly. And it's funny that I mentioned that because this salvo right here, I think, is a perfect example. You see that the Missouri has his nose sticking out around the island. He's probably at about a 40-degree angle to me. I get a full broadside out, and you can see the shells are all in a nice line right there. The salvo looks absolutely great. The shells falling on the target. 7 ricochets and 2 pens for just under 5,000 points of damage. I aimed a little bit too high, and it appears to me that some of the shells might have hit the deck armor and bounced off. Even at 15 kilometers, that does not have enough penetration damage coming down from the top to be able to punch through the deck. But some of those shells had to have managed to hit that forward portion of the ship. And the Missouri does have a better citadel athwartship, meaning the front part that protects rounds coming in from the bow and not reaching the A turret. So my guess is some of those shells managed to hit that and just ricocheted. Very unlucky salvo right there, as I would have been able to pick up the Kraken. However, I do have my rear turrets coming into play. The Missouri and the Currywurst kill each other at the same time, getting the rear turrets swinging around. The Mogami is only 11 kilometers away. I really want the Kraken. Haven't had very many of those in this ship, but you can see that he is finally starting to move around the corner, and I am undetected because there is hard cover between me and him. And right as his bow sticks out around the island, a full broadside out, he catches it. It appears he slows down, but it does not matter. And I pick up the Kraken with a Citadel to end the game in style here on Mountain Range. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. Just over 600,000 credits received and just under 13,000 total XP. I picked up Confederate and Kraken Unleashed. I did 186,000 points of damage off of 90 shell hits. I shot down 1 plane, sank 5 enemy ships, 3 citadels, and 74 hits with the secondary batteries. Taking a look at the team score, 2,425 base EXP. Certainly not a monster game, but a very solid performance nonetheless. Unfortunately for my buddy Megadude, that was his first game in the honorary, and while the base XP total is okay, it certainly was not his best effort, but nonetheless, we were able to secure the victory with a very solid performance. And also taking a look at the detailed report, 176,000 damage done with the armor piercing, and it was actually quite a bit of damage done, mostly to battleships. 46k on the Bismarck. I had a 20k salvo on the Friedrich de Grosse, which was the kill shot. Just very, very solid damage totals against those battleships. So with that being said, the Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships signing off. Please consider giving the video a like, commenting on it, or possibly subscribing to the channel. All of it is very much appreciated. And with that being said as well, have a great day.